Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the counselor's office. Scholars, your favorite naked mole rat is here. That's right. AKA Peter Griffin cosplayer, professional. What can I say? Today, we're talking about Warframe, and I'm gonna skip the soundtrack here. There you go. This is fine, even though we were talking about Warframe. Halo music pops up. Let's be honest here. I've gotten a lot of, I've been doing a lot of Warframe videos recently because I said I would, and I'm trying to get into it. And shout out to the Warframe community for really investing into the channel, checking, commenting, letting me know. And I have heard, like, when I'm glazing, there are some people who've come and said, hey, not everything is rosy and red. Not everything is great. There has been issues with Warframe. And I've even said that too, by the way. Like, I may glaze Digital Extremes, but I know for a fact that they've probably had their controversies and their dramas. But I myself have never really been in the know of it. Except for today. Today, we're going to watch a video, right? We're going to watch a video to be more knowledgeable about Warframe. That way, whenever I say something, I know I'm doing my due diligence and I'm not just spouting what might be nonsense to other people. Though most people do give me like saying, hey, thanks for talking about Warframe. I want to make sure that I'm more informed. That way, when I give opinions, they're informed. And so we're going to watch a video by the Tactical Potato. I've watched, I believe, Tactical Potato for review, like builds in the past. But we're going to watch a video specifically titled, We Don't Talk About This Warframe Era. Did you forget how bad this chapter was? There was a stretch in time where 3 massive updates landed back to back, and each one came with enough RNG, bugs, and why is it like this energy to make the community morale nosedive. In this video, I'm rewinding to the infamous trilogy Kuva Lich's Railjack Scarlet Spear, which is where I started. Just to let you know, I started Scarlet Spear and how they were supposed to work, what actually happened at launch, why trust took a hit, and how Digital Extremes eventually pulled it back with fixes and a pivot that led into Deadlock Protocol, which was phenomenal. I think Deadlock Protocol was just amazing. If you were there, there's going to feel like reopening old wound. If you weren't, welcome to Warframe Darkest Timeline. So again, I want to be more informed and understand. And I think another video I'll look into is raids, because a lot of people were like, well, they took away raids and it seems like it was very elitist and toxic. And so it sounds like it was a good reason why, Digital Extremes removed that. But this feels like this is a time where things weren't good for the community. And so I would like to be able to know more about it. And that way I could be more respectful in my thoughts and opinions. And when I'm, talking about Warframe, I have that in mind. So I'm not just saying everything's all rosy and red. I actually know what some of the dark timelines are. So let's go watch some Tactical Potato. What a name, by the way. Link will be down below for you to check out.
See in chat someone saying, can 2020 be the year where we fix everything? And I do know that there is a big component to that this year.
By the way, I've watched several dev streams. I don't think I've ever seen them pull a Bungie. This is usually a Bungie stream where there's people that are they're just there. And you can visibly see what a frame. But you can just see the uncomfortableness. There's not excitement, which the most recent ones are excitement and they're having a good time. So I can already tell that this is not going to be good.
I do know that there is a big component to that this year.
Now, Warframe had a dark chapter in its history, right? 3 updates in a row, back to back to back, each one ambitious as hell, each one trying to become a new pillar for the game in terms of systems, and each one landing with enough friction, enough bugs. And why is it like this energy that the community's confidence dipped incredibly hard? And that matters because it wasn't that people suddenly hated Warframe, it was quite the opposite. People cared, people wanted these systems, these pillars to be great. But when
And here's the thing, as someone who comes from Destiny, and it's crazy, I'm already, when he talks, it's like, this sounds like Destiny. Like, this feels like how the community in the Destiny world feels like 90% of the times. Like, we just want this to be good. Like, can we just be good? Can we please?
When 3 huge updates land messy in a row, that vibe shifts from "don't worry, DE will fix it" to "wait, do they actually have this under control?" Kuva Liches into Railjack into Scarlet Spear, a big ugly blip in Warframe's history. So let's take a rewind, let's walk it in order, not to dunk on the game, but to explain why Warframe is where it is right now because of the lessons it learned back during that dark chapter.
Isn't it also crazy? Because I'm going to glaze Digital Extremes. If this is their dark chapter and they learn from this and they continue to grow, that is such a huge thing that even games like companies like Activision don't learn. And of course, Bungie. I'm going to throw them under the bus. Like, let's be honest. But like, it is crazy that I'm hearing like this was the darkest chapter. And it sounds like this is like the biggest like uh-oh moment for the lifetime. This game's been out since 2013. This game's been out since 2013 and it has 1 dark chapter. I mean, that's pretty good. In the world where I live in, we have like 6 chapters in Bungie and Destiny. Activision has their multiple chapters. Hell, Blizzard has their multiple chapters, right? Like Starfield was awful, like, but that's Bethesda. But you know, like Blizzard, also Overwatch and all that jazz. And just I can name constant games where there's like multiple dark chapters. So if Digital Extremes has 1 dark chapter, that's also pretty good.
So chapter 1, Kuva Liches and the Old Blood.
And then the next one, which one did you enjoy the least? And then
Damn! This is all new, so I want to digest it. This is episode 136. Where are they at now? Hold on. I need for science. I need to know how long, how many of this was. Warframe dev stream. Even if it's the most recent one, I don't give a crap. 2000. What was the dev stream? 190? Oh dang. Okay, so that was in October though. So I mean, still, whatever. It's still 190, still crazy. So, new Warframes. What did you at least enjoy? Who said 10% didn't like new Warframes? What Warframes came out during this time? Empyrean, Kuva Liches, new boss fights, new cosmetics, Nightwave. Or sorry, this is new Warframes. Nightwave is 10%. Primes is right here. Melee rework, which is here, and then other. Could you next? Oh my God, they're so this chart makes me sad.
Liches.
Pretty definitive.
Now, the pitch for Kuva Liches was absolutely perfect. You get your own personal villain, a persistent rival with a name, with a personality, a growing grudge against you, and the sheer audacity to steal your stuff and taunt you about it. It's that kind of Shadow of Mordor energy, except...
Which is what it is now. Again, I did not start playing until Scarlet Spear, so I don't know how bad the Kuva Liches were. But to my acknowledgement, it's working as intended now.
You know, the Nemesis system got patented and they never used it again, which is hilarious in a very tragic way. Now, on paper, Kuva Liches were Warframe doing a kingpin system with a long-term enemy, a relationship built on violence, vengeance, and of course, loot. Now, in reality, your Nemesis would show up, steal your wallet, and kick you square in the balls. Now, the intended loop for these Liches was you would spawn your Kuva Lich, you would hunt their thralls, you would then uncover the Requiem mod sequence needed for those liches.
Yeah.
You would confront the lich, you would stab it correctly, and you would claim your new shiny Kuva weapon. However, that was the fantasy. You would learn the code, beat the rival, earn the reward. The reality is where it went a little bit sideways. The problem is that almost every step of that loop had crazy randomness attached to it. Now, remember, this was before Kuva Liches got fine-tuned into what we have right now. So back then, you had RNG stacked on top of RNG on top of RNG.
What?
You had RNG on what weapon the Lich would have. You had RNG on the elemental.
Which I want to know, right now you can choose not to use, like you can farm and change up. Like it's pretty easy to just get another gun. So I'm wondering if that RNG was different than the RNG now.
Bonus, you had RNG on the Requiem mods you needed to actually, I guess, kill that Lich. Then Requiem mods had limited charges, so even if you got what you needed, you still couldn't, I guess, kill it. And then the confrontation itself had a special feature where if you guessed the combination wrong, the Lich would outright kill you. So you would be dead and need to be revived. So it was a miserable bit of an experience. Now, the flashpoint with all of this was, of course, duplicate weapons. This is where things got properly ugly. At that time, you had no way of knowing what weapon you were getting from your Lich. So you could grind for hours and then finally finish your Lich.
So they changed it to where you could... Oh my God. Why? That is horrible. So it's okay. I'm glad he showed the visualization. Now I understand. That seems fucking awful.
And your reward was the exact same Kuva weapon that you already owned. Maybe one, maybe two, maybe 3 times of that weapon. So there was no fallback, no protection, and that kind of experience just annoyed players right down to their bones. Once players stopped trusting that the grind respected their time, they stopped engaging in that system, and they stopped logging into Warframe and actually participating in the Liches. They stopped giving the developers the benefit of the doubt, and they went and played literally anything else that would respect their time. Now, DE's response, to their credit, they didn't pretend everything was fine. Within a couple of weeks, the messaging shifted from...
Oh yeah, Joseph. I know how Liches are now because I've farmed the Liches. So I never knew that they insta-killed you. I didn't know you couldn't see what it was. Wow.
I guess what they had to repairing the trust with players. They started acknowledging the issues and correcting course, and months later the real turning point hit where they finally allowed you to see what weapon the Lich would actually have, and you could choose to kill that larvaling and pick up that weapon so that you would eventually get it when you killed your Lich, or you could choose to leave the larvaling in a down state and just go on to your next mission and try and recycle and get a different...
We originally couldn't fuse burnt Requiem mods, so they're just pointless.
...weapon to appear. Now eventually they also added the Valence Fusion, which would allow you to pick up duplicates and increase a weapon's strength over time in increments, which has allowed us to have those 60% weapons that we have right now. So Kuva Lich...
We'll be honest, I never put that effort into doing that. Even the guns I have now, I got one of each, or at least I still need to go back and get the rest of them. I was like, I'm good. I don't care enough to do that much farming, but eventually I will do that, but not now.
Which is weird. I guess, a failure of ambition. They were a failure of implementation. There was far too much RNG, so the backlash was real. But unfortunately, this was only chapter 1 of those, I guess, dark chapter of Warframe, because right after the community's trust was shaken with the Liches and the Old Blood, DE hit the player base with chapter 2. And chapter 2 wasn't just messy, it was messy and timed in the worst possible way. The launch of Railjack. Now, if...
Okay, so I don't know the drama, but I do know that Railjack was not good at launch. I know that much. And I know that it's come a long way. I still haven't, I don't think I've maxed out everything of Railjack. I still need to work on a lot of systems. When I played, I target focused everything that I wanted and not any, like I wouldn't try to go backwards. There's a lot to do in this game, which is great because that means you can invest so much time and have a good time.
Kuva Liches were a trust problem. Railjack was a timing problem that compounded that trust problem. So Railjack wasn't some small side feature. It was years in the making. It was massively hyped and genuinely one of Warframe's coolest ideas. It was kind of promoted as what Warframe was always meant to be.
Which, by the way, it is still one of the coolest fucking... Too much resources required for Railjack. yes, you need a shit ton of resources, or at least you did. And you have to level up and all that stuff. Like, you have to invest some time into it, but it's still one of the coolest things ever. Like, this is something that people have wanted from Bungie and Destiny for years.
Co-op spaceship adventure. A full crew with roles, boarding enemy ships, fires on your ship that you would have to put out, hull breaches, absolute chaos in the best way possible. But when it launched, everything fell apart. Normally, Warframe update weeks go a little bit like this. The update will launch, then there'll be some chaos with things not working the way they're supposed to. Hotfixes will roll out constantly for a week, for 2 weeks, and then stability will improve and the update will be much more enjoyable. However, Railjack's update schedule was they would launch the update, immediate chaos, everything breaks, and then DE went on their Christmas holidays, which they're allowed to do. That's fine. But the community didn't just experience bugs, they experienced weeks of bugs because of this.
No.
There wasn't the usual rapid response hotfix cycle, and that is kind of the key difference. Everything was basically on fire. There was crashes, there was failed missions.
Hold on. Railjack missions have been impossible to complete since March 2020 with no fix. Wow, that's March. Railjack still have unacceptable high chance of breaking. Railjack bug can't access slingshot after first use. Railjack progression basically encourages people not to have their own Railjack until MK3 salvage. I, for some reason, remember this. Like, it was nothing I ever ran into, I don't think. But I remember, like, you just wanted, if you didn't have the best stuff, you kind of sucked.
There was soft locks, broken UI elements, objectives not spawning, host migration issues, progression systems being really grindy, and even when the update did work, the progression design piled another layer of anger and frustration onto the player base. Coming off the Lich experience, the community was already exhausted with the randomness element to, I guess, progression. Railjack felt like you were grinding for a part of your ship, then you were grinding for a god roll version of that part, so the ship's progression system once again felt like it didn't respect players' time, especially when repair costs were high, building costs felt steep, and the whole thing was really slow to actually get. Now, there was also an item added to the store called a Rush Repair Drone, which was a single-use item that instantly finished repairing a part for your Railjack and bypassed the spend resources to see what you get step. Even if the intention was harmless, the perception was pretty brutal. Costs felt too high, progression felt too slow, the system felt unfinished, and in the store there was an item now that helped you bypass a lot of that pain. So it looked like a pay to skip button had been added to solve the problem that they themselves.
Damn. And we have pay to skip campaigns for $20 and been Destiny. Oh man. Listen, I know it's so easy to be like, guys, you're getting angry about this. But I have to realize that the amount of abuse that people in the Destiny community receive from Bungie is not normal and not to the level of what normal games usually are subjected to. Like, this is all fair criticism, and to the credit of the Warframe community, there is a general vibe and expectation that has been created, manifested, and fostered within this community and how they see digital extremes. So it's easy to be like, oh, that doesn't sound like that big a deal. Yeah, there's bugs. It happens. Not like bugs that you see in other games. But you've got to think, like, it's a big deal with Warframe when this is came out in 2013 and this game has been going on this long and things are starting to go downhill. That's a scary thought. Like, you got like, I was there. I was there for Halo when things started going downhill, and I'm like, I don't like this. And I still don't like this with Halo because it's not gone uphill since.
Had created. And because DE were away on holidays, that perception just sat like that for weeks without the usual immediate communication and the constant fixes that would counterbalance it. Now, to be fair to DE, they did return, they did fix a lot, they did pull the repair drones out of the market, and they adjusted the costs and I guess the resources needed to upgrade some of those ship parts, and Railjacks are a lot easier to build now as well. Railjack eventually became far more playable eventually even genuinely fun, which is what we have right now. Railjack is a
It's so
much better
fun.
experience than
It's
what it
so
was on
fun.
launch, which wouldn't be fucking hard. But the damage at that stage was done because this was now 2 major releases in a row where a new big pillar had launched in a very rough state. The grind for both of them was very punishing, and the trust that DE, I guess, had taken years to garner with their community had taken another big hit. Then came Chapter 3, the one that tried to unify everything, the one that leaned on Railjack's already wobbly foundations, and the one that landed on a...
I remember this, and I remember I didn't have a Railjack, and I was like, I'm never going to be part of that. And when I did get forced into playing the part in the Railjack, I was so confused on what I was doing. Because remember, this is baby Tenno counselor using Scarlet Spear. I would go and buy all of the credit version of guns to rank up my mastery and to speed run because I wanted the best Mew and the Cetra. The Leti Cetra. Those were the two because I thought they were so fucking cool. I was like, this is badass. And so I'm like, okay, this is free. I got to grind up. So I literally played Scarlet Spear. Didn't help at all. Like, I'm useless, but literally used it to rank level up. And I ranked up really fast. Like, I sped run ranks with that little activity.
community already very low on morale. That is Scarlet Spear.
I will say, I was a problem.
Now, Scarlet Spear was supposed to be a community rallying cry. On paper, it was ground teams would fight Condrixes and then send codes up to space. Space teams.
See, during this fight, I would be running around and shooting all the dudes I knew I could kill. That's what I was doing. I would shoot the boss and I would do like 10 damage. I'm like, I'm not helping here because I didn't know how to mod or anything like that. So I'm like, I'm just going to focus on just using Excalibur's sword attack on the little dudes. Guys, I'm ad clearing. You know, I was in the Destiny mind. I'm ad clearing, guys. Don't worry. You guys focus the boss. I'll kill the ads.
Would get those codes, raid Murex ships and push them away. Everyone was basically contributing to a shared community goal, a community operation where all of us Tenno felt like a proper army.
Which, by the way, it was a really cool fucking event. I thought it was cool. Granted, I was also a baby Tenno, and so coming into this, like, the concept sounds really cool.
It's the dream of a coordinated war effort. However, in reality, it was a coordinated mess. One of the earliest issues was brutal because it hit the most important aspect.
All right, scoring. The hottest item on the list. We are getting data and stats together to audit scoring. Reward turn-in was based on proximizations of playing a full best performing run per day to get the event exclusive plus bonus payouts. But we'll absolutely be responding and working on this. The store is not complete as we anticipate the need to balance this entirely. Stay calm and uplink. Matchmaking. Players right now have the option to pre-form squads through normal means or join on people in your flotilla. But there's an optimization to be made in the flow of matchmaking that are being discussed specifically for Railjack. Condrix health scaling. We are working on remodeling the scaling on the health of the ground assault Condrix. We expect a fix very soon.
Of any event in Warframe.
World state score clarity versus mission. There is a clarity issue where viewing the score in your orbiter lags behind your active score in the Murex. The orbiter score gets updated after Murexes are complete to consider bonuses. So the flotilla is real time for the active Murex waves. This is causing some confusion, but we will be making this more real time soon.
Rewards not showing up properly.
Jesus Christ. Rare and legendary arcanes are not in the store yet and will be added. I never got arcanes from this. I didn't realize how good these were. I focused heavily on getting the freaking guns because I was still working on mastery. But damn, dude, I could have gotten legendary arcanes. Bug fixes. There are several bugs that have been reported that will fix. Okay, whatever.
Of a mission. That aspect alone instantly made players not feel like, again, their time was not being respected. Even if the event was cool, even if it didn't play out or pay out reliably, you're basically telling people that you're wasting their time. Now, also, you had the social hubs at the time, the flotillas, I think they were called, were meant.
These social hubs were sick. Bro, you can do the arcanes now. I know. I know you're back then, dude. I know. I want this to come back because I want to properly do Scarlet Spear. I want to do this. Yes, I know. I'm reacting based on my time when I first started. I know. With all due respect, I know you're trying to be helpful, but like I'm not a new player. Like I'm master rank 28. I know. Scarlet Spear. I really wanted to come back, man. Scarlet Spear was it was so cool as a new Tenno player. By the way, joining it may have been a nightmare for veterans and people who currently play the game. This was some of the coolest shit for a new player because you're like, damn, this is Warframe. Sign me the fuck up.
To be alive with lots of Tenno, there was meant to be visible progression with the event on screens. Codes were supposed to be moving from ground to space, and there was a sense of we're doing this all together. Instead, the social hubs were either a ghost town instance or they were full and you couldn't get into them. Codes were...
I do remember that, by the way. I remember trying to load up and could never find a group. Like, I would just sit there. That's why I always did the ground assault. I was like, no one has Railjack, I guess. I didn't. And like, it just never would let me in. I was like, okay.
Weren't properly showing up for the space team, so it felt like the ground teams were doing a lot of work and there was no progress being made in space. So progress was stalling because the whole linkage system was basically choking. So the central idea where we were supposed to be this big coordinated army felt more like something you would see out of a Monty Python movie. And space squads were dealing with a little bit extra at the time as well, because Scarlet Spear wasn't just about the event bugs. The space team also had to deal with the Railjack bugs, plus the event bugs, plus host migrations, desync, stacked together like, I guess, this big cursed Jenga tower. Now, sometimes raids would melt instantly, sometimes you were desynced and genuinely were unsure if you were still in the mission or not. You would have to restart the game. It didn't behave like a functioning game at that time, and when your big war effort feels like it's fighting you harder than the Sentients, then the tone kind of dies. Now, again, to DE's credit, they were fighting hotfixes and fires in real time. Hotfixes came fast, then faster, until the event itself was...
I didn't realize how chunky these guys were, but I can still tell you I was not helping at all killing these guys.
Actually playable. Now, it wasn't perfect. It still had a few issues, but it was playable.
Until I got Rhino. I was using Roar, and I did, like, finally figure out some mods. So I don't figure out what gun I was using, but I was doing something. But it definitely wasn't this bow. By the way, the Brahma, everyone was fucking using the Brahma, which made me want to do Kuva. And I think this is what kicked me off to try to do Kuva Liches.
And the problem is, Scarlet Spear didn't...
Also, I think I paid plat, or I paid to get my Brava. Like, I did not get my Brahma, like, legit. I paid for it.
Exist in this just one vacuum. Okay, it landed after the Liches and the troubles that it brought, then Railjack and the troubles that it brought, and a community that was already running very low on trust. It became the third hit in a row, so 3 strikes and you're out, and that compounding effect is what pushed a lot of players finally over the edge. If you were already thinking about leaving Warframe after the Liches, or maybe then again after Railjack, then Scarlet Spear was that final shove off the cliff.
I know he has a negative reaction, but I actually want to play Scarlet Spear. This gameplay makes me want to play it. Like, please come back soon. I want to play it.
A lot of Tenno to this day still haven't returned to the game. Now, the pivot was that DE did fix things eventually. Not instantly, not perfectly, but they listened with each of these updates and they did start to correct course. And over the course of time, a lot of these systems became much more enjoyable and much better than what we originally had. Liches became less of a slot machine and more of an actual rivalry system where you could see what weapons you wanted to get, which is why we got the Sisters and then we got the Coda Liches. Railjack got reworked into something far more enjoyable, thankfully. And DE clearly learned a very painful lesson about shipping massive updates back to back that were ambitious, especially when you're about to go on holiday. Now, thankfully, there was a turning point, there was a pivot, and that turning point was the next update, which was called the Deadlock Protocol. It
was fantastic.
Showed the image with 2 updates, Scarlet
By the way, this was still during COVID. Yeah, home dev stream.
Spear and Deadlock we've kind of said what Deadlock is and what it's going to come. It's going to be a way more traditional style update.
This felt like a deliberate move away from a lot of the previous chaos with those 3 updates into a more traditional, more focused update, which wasn't as ambitious as the 3 updates prior to that, but hotfixes came quickly and the update itself was a success. Now, it is also worth noting that somewhere around the end of the Scarlet Spear update and of course the Deadlock Protocol, the entire world came to a complete standstill because of the COVID virus, which is why you see Rebecca and of course...
Which is actually crazy that they were able to do so much from home and still release some banger updates. Remember, I just got into Warframe during Scarlet Spear, so I'm headfirsting. I am grinding out during this time, and then I'm also playing Destiny because I think this is Witch Queen came around this time. I'm not for sure, but I'm definitely like pounding through both games.
Or Steve doing the dev stream from home and not in the studio like they normally did. It was Warframe's darkest age. It is a reminder that the game hasn't always been sunshine and roses. There was a moment where ambition outpaced execution and the community paid for it in time, frustration and of course trust. But it also showed that Digital Extremes as a studio aren't afraid to try something new.
Hey, I have that attachment.
Do something different, something bold. And I feel like the lessons they learned during those 3 updates are the reason why a lot of the big kind of flashy updates we've had with Warframe over the last few years have been such a success. Now, I'm curious, what updates or moments in your Warframe playing days, in your history of playing the game, have made you go, feck this, I'm out, or at least made you take a break and question where the game was heading, in what direction? Because
I don't think... So I stopped playing about a year and a half ago after I came back and played Deviri and farmed it. I did like I did some of the circuit and all that jazz, and then I stopped playing. It wasn't because Warframe was bad or an update was bad. It's just because at that time I felt like I'm kind of weird. I'm going to say this. I'm kind of weird. The mindset is I don't want to burn through Warframe and do everything and then not like have anything to do later. And so I stopped because I remember I religiously was playing this game, trying to catch up and do every little thing. And I still have a lot to do. Now I'm kind of like in the boat where I feel like I'm back a new player in the sense that I have a lot to grind and go back for, which is, to me, I love that because that means I'm not going to get bored. And I'm going to be able to continue playing with these systems. And, I've got essentially, it feels like a brand new game, even though it's not a brand new game. I get to sink time into it, which is the problem that I face with Destiny right now, is that there's just nothing to do. And that's mostly Bungie's fault for removing content or making content pointless. Whereas Warframe, all the content has value and has points, like going through and collecting everything. Like there's a bunch of cosmetics that you can earn, and just overall, there's a lot of value going back and playing all these old pieces of content, which is always feels good. Which is why I'm not like in any rush to just like, I've got to blitz through and do every little thing possible. I want there to always be something to look forward to go back to, and continue playing Warframe.
I know a lot of us over the years of playing the game will have had a moment or two where either you've had burnout or an update just didn't quite hit for you. Have a great day, have a great week, and as always, thanks for watching.
The link will be down below. I do remember, like, I knew there was some drama with the Steel Path. Like there was, like, I remember there was some drama with Steel Path about people, complaining that it was too easy, or people, complaining that it was for some people, it was too hard. And then there was like, there was multiple conversations that were being talked about in regard to, nerfing things like Prime Sure-Footed was too good. They were going to nerf it, which apparently that never happened. I don't know what the final decision was, but they never did nerf Prime Sure-Footed. It's still good. At least maybe they did nerf it and it's just still that good. I don't know. And then there was always the how do you nerf, like I know they nerfed AoE damage because the Kuva Brahma was just so goddamn good. And just I know they nerfed the ability to AFK, essentially just click and do nothing. Nerfed Naramon Tree, but I know they've done a lot of nerfs and things that have been considered, controversial, even though I don't remember all of them. I know that during my time playing, there have been talks and things that have been in the background that the community didn't like. But I mean, you're always going to have that with video games. I mean, Destiny does it on a daily. But it's interesting to hear that these old Void Dash faster than the current one. Yes, I knew the Void Sling was insane. I knew that you could just it was just like one of the best things. Is no longer a perfect 100%. It's close. Oh, so they did nerf it. Okay, I thought it was 100% because I've used it and it feels. I've never really felt like I've been knocked down. But okay. So they did nerf it. Good to know. Overall, if this is the worst that has happened to Warframe, I'm not concerned. Now, if they consistently had gone back to back to back to back, I would say, there's something to worry about. But overall, I feel pretty confident that this company listens to its community and is willing to make the changes necessary. So, in general, I think it's a safe bet to continue to invest in this game if you're on the fence. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. Like I said, the link to the video will be down below. Let me know what you think. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until next time, huzzah! Peace.